Usually, Your Honor.
And then there should be a delineation between a trial lawyer and the solicitor, like in England. Only the solicitor will only delay the proceedings if you allow him to go to trial.
I see.
Whereas the barrister will be the one going to trial. When the solicitor solicits cases and prepares the evidence for the barrister appears in court. Why don't we have that? On that note, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Secretary Mosngi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to disclose that he was a former professor of mine at the Ateneo Law School. I believe he gave me a grade of 89. I have no further clarifications.
Because Secretary Mosngi and Attorney Cayusa disclose their relationship with it. I will have to disclose mine also. Well, Dean and I were together in the study tour in Canada in 2005. He was the one who recruited me as part of the faculty of Ateneo.
And they miss you, Your Honor.
And how's that?
They miss you there, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah. And introduced me to the Bar Review program of the Ateneo. Then we were also together many times in the Academic Council in the Philippine Judicial Academy, and also in the preparation of the bench books for judges, I think. Yeah. And because he said that one of his first priorities is to increase the salary of justices, I was thinking I will still ask him questions because I know his qualifications. No? But there are some questions in the Twitter, Dean. May nagtatanong na Muslim eh. His question is this: may I be pleased that questions be propounded to DCJ aspirants concerning their thoughts or perspectives for the development of Sharia, both as profession and judicial system in the Philippines per PD 1083. Can you answer this question?
Yes, Your Honor. In the Philippine Judicial Academy, there is a particular department headed by retired justices, Muslim justices, who actually take care of the Sharia program. In fact, and they're part of the academic council. And in fact, much of the budget of PhilJA when it comes to training is training on Sharia courts, as well as a training on understanding within the areas where Muslim population are the highest of Sharia law, especially a comparison between civil law, personal law, and the Muslim code, and therefore, yes, there is such an important consideration given both in the Supreme Court through the PhilJA of being able to make sure that Sharia develops and the Sharia court system develops. And perhaps that's one of the things because the common complaint is that some of these are unfilled up in the South, Your Honor. Perhaps that's one of the other things that PhilJA should work with the executive in order to be able to fill this up with qualified people, Your Honor.
Just one or two questions. No? You're a member of the Committee on Commercial Law?
I used to be, Your Honor.
I used to be, and I think even in the rehabilitation
Yes, in
Committee,
the subcommittee for commercial courts. Your Honor.
Are there provisions in the rules on commercial courts that were introduced during your time as member of that committee purposely to expedite the termination of commercial cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
Will you please enlighten us, Dean?
Yes. The interim rules, when they were first promulgated by what they call the SC Corporate Committee, tried to put in place what we call experimental but not revolutionary matters. For example, making sure that there are certain, not only that there are prohibited pleadings, making sure that there is no need for oral arguments, that evidence can be presented by an affidavit, making sure that they're time-bound, making sure that judges, when they do not render decisions within the time mandated by law, that the petition is deemed to have been denied, and judges are made subject to administrative penalties. When those came to us, we said, we did write about this and how a great experiment this is, that because it's commercial law issues, usually it's just about business, it's about monetary inclusion, that it is possible to be quick about it. When I became a member of the subcommittee, among the other things that we did was to be able to revise the interim rules to become the regular rules by incorporating therein not only the rehabilitation aspect, but including insolvency provisions, because the insolvency law is a law that has become in disuse. And therefore, what we did was to look at the pending bills, the bill that has almost matured in Congress. It was called then the Corporate Rehabilitation and Insolvency Act, CREA. And we inputted them into the amended interim rules, and the Supreme Court did, in fact, pass them as we amended them to make sure that not only corporate rehabilitation are decided in the most expeditious manner, but including corporate insolvency and as well as individual insolvency. It turned out, Your Honor, that when Congress, after 2 years or 3 years, did pass that law, it became FREA, the Financial Recovery and Insolvency Act. The Supreme Court was mandated to actually issue rules, promulgate rules of procedure that were in line with that. And the truth is, they were already there. In other words, the Supreme Court, to its rules, was much ahead already of the FREA. So even if the Supreme Court has not particularly amended those rules or issued rules of procedure pursuant to the FREA, the existing rules of procedure have now anticipated that, and judges still have, therefore, a set of rules by which to follow in this case, Your Honor.
Last question. Did I get you right that they miss me in Ateneo?
Yeah, very much so, Your Honor.
So my next question is, if you become the Chief Justice, will you allow me to teach?
Yeah, we will all teach on Saturdays, Your Honor.
On that note, I'm through, Dean.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Tomorrow is our last day. We will have 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. So we will start at 9 o'clock. So thank you. Session for today.
At dyan po nagtatapos ang pang-apat na interview para sa araw na ito. Nagtapos po tayo kay Dean Cesar Villanueva. Balikan natin si Attorney Libares. Attorney, anong assessment niyo sa interview ni Dean Cesar?
Mukhang maganda naman ang mga sinasabi ni Dean Villanueva. Napakita niya yung kanyang grasp, no? Yung understanding ng dynamics ng hudikatura at yung relationship sa executive at saka other branches of government. At natumbok din niya ang problema natin sa docket congestion at yung pangailangan na ma-unite, no? Ang Korte Suprema at saka ibang sangay ng ating pamahalaan. And more than that, he was able to show that he is not a complete outsider from the judiciary. Kasi nga sabi niya, mukhang kaya, even if hindi siya miyembro talaga officially ng hudikatura natin, pero dati-rati may mga involvement na siya sa judiciary. So he's not coming in the judiciary if he's chosen as the Chief Justice as a complete stranger. Pinapalabas niya na marami rin siyang alam tungkol sa mga pangailangan at mga kondisyon ng ating judikatura, so that if he is chosen as the Chief Justice, he will be able to bridge yung gap between an outsider at saka yung insider. So ito yung kanyang pinakitang value niya, na while he appears to be an outsider, but because of his past background, he could be the bridge between the outsider and the insiders in the Supreme Court.
Napag-usapan niya yung konsepto ng SC only as a constitutional court. Ano pong ibig sabihin ito? Kasi maraming nagtatanong itong clarification.
Kasi alam mo ngayon, isa sa nireklamo rin talaga ng taong bayan, napakabagal ng proseso ng ating adjudication, including sa Korte Suprema. Sinabi na kahapon yata, itong araw ni Justice Peralta, na sa isang araw yata 300 to 500 cases yung agenda na tinatakil ng Korte Suprema. This is humanly impossible. Kaya kung magtatakil kayo ng 300 cases per session, kinakabahan ng taong bayan doon, baka may iba doon talaga, may nadali na lang, no? Baka may mga miscarriage of justice dito. Kaya ang tingin ng karamihan dito, dapat i-limit ng Korte Suprema yung kanilang kaso na hahawakan. Kung pwede, i-limit na lang sa mga clearly constitutional questions. Hindi na pwedeng pumasok pa sa ibang mga bagay na nakaka-burden lang sa ating Korte Suprema at hindi na na-achieve yung real purpose ng ating Korte Suprema na maging isang arbiter of constitutional questions. Kasi nga ngayon, meron tayong Rule 65. Sa Rule 65, binibigyan kasi ng parang duty ang Korte Suprema na manghimasok din kung may mga grave abuse of discretion. So even questions of facts, kahit hindi question ng konstitusyon, mga simpleng batas, mga simpleng aksyon ng iba-ibang ahensya nating ng gobyerno, pinapasukan ng Korte Suprema because of the Rule 65. Kaya may advocacy ngayon na dapat baguhin ito, yung approach na to, at mag-limit na lang Korte Suprema bilang isang constitutional court. Katulad na sa ibang bansa, no? Like sa Germany o sa iba pang bansa, meron silang specific talagang function ng Korte Suprema. It will not adjudicate cases except those cases which have clear constitutional dimensions. Kung walang constitutional dimensions, hindi papakialaman ng Korte Suprema. And by that, nagiging more valuable ang judgments ng ating Korte Suprema.
May final question on Dean Cesar. No? May nagtatanong din kanina yung ibang mga lawyers. How competent do you think that CLV or Cesar Villanueva will be as a CJ given that yung expertise sa commercial law? Natanong din to sa kanya kanina.
Siguro that will be a good point, no, yung ni-raise the question na yan. But he was able to explain himself that aside from being an expert in commercial law, he has been exposed to litigation. So, hindi ko alam kung anong extent ng kanyang exposure sa litigation. Baka it involves naman other matters not purely limited to commercial law. Yung kanya academic background, yung kanya advocacy involves commercial law. Pero baka naman doon sa litigation aspect, he was able to handle other matters than commercial law. At saka, tingnan din natin kung may mga, kasi yung iba namang, for example, yung human rights advocacy, dapat tignan din kung, yun nga sana kanina gusto kong tignan sa ating mga justices, kung pwede siyang i-test on other areas of the law, no? For example, about yung human rights advocacy. Kung ano ba yung mga experiences niya, yung involvement niya about advocacy of human rights. Anong perception niya sa human rights standards sa Philippines ngayon. Maraming aspeto outside of the commercial law which could have been looked into by our panel of interviewers, no? Yung mga member ng JBC, which I think siguro because of the lack of time, material time, hindi talaga na-pursue. Because I would have wanted to test yung dimensions niya, no, yung kanyang grasp of the entirety of the legal profession at saka entirety of the law itself, no. May sinasabi siya about yung maganda yung pina-point out niya na kailangan may restrain tayo sa commercial and then be an activist in the field of protection of human rights, no, fundamental human rights. But that could have been tested, yung commitment niya, by previous experiences, kung anong naging posisyon niya sa mga major issues where the Supreme Court was put into test whether or not to uphold issues involving human rights.
Okay, maraming salamat. Puntahan naman natin yung, you can't help but notice, kahit yung Facebook ng PTV ay natatanong, bakit wala po si Congressman Tupas? And will this affect his position or position ng lehislatura sa pagpili sa shortlist ng JBC?
Siguro baka may mga ibang inaasikaso si Congressman Tupas, but of course, since this is a constitutional duty, sana maganda kung talagang present siya all the while, because he has to listen to the presentation of the other nominees, and para din mabigyan din ng isang broader perspective, at saka better appreciation si Congressman Tupas sa mga issues na sinasabi ng ating mga nominees. Baka next time I should be advised, baka kausapin siya ng ating mga, although we understand yung demands ng congressman, talagang kasi primary duty na talaga bigyan congressman, baka marami rin siyang inaasikaso, but it should also be considered na he has accepted the constitutional duty, which is the performance ng JBC screening process for the Chief Justice. So I think it would be to his advantage na maging present sa lahat ng proceedings and to take advantage of the opportunity na binibigay sa isang public interview.
Pero hindi naman po siguro ito dahil may MR silang pending doon sa composition ng JBC?
Hindi naman, kasi hindi naman pinaprohibit ng JBC yung appearance ni Congressman Tupas, at wala namang binibigay na instruction ng Korte Suprema o isang order na hindi siya makapag-appear dito sa JBC interview proceedings. Ito he has been appearing sa JBC proceedings, but we would have appreciated, and I'm sure a lot would have appreciated kung si Congressman Tupas would have been present, kasi maganda rin mga perspective sana na may palabas niya dito sa mga tanong. For example, kay Dean Villanueva, he missed out, si Dean Villanueva, he could have articulated the point of view ng Congress on some of the matters that were taken up during the presentation of the nominees.
Ito po yung isang tanong din, para po sa IBP, ano po ba yung isang ideal na Chief Justice sa konteksto natin ngayon?
Actually, ang ating konstitusyon naglatag na ng mga basic ingredients, mga katangian ng isang miyembro ng ating judikatura, yung tinatawag natin yung independence, integrity, yung kanyang competence, at sa kanyang moral probity. Ito yung apat na katangian na sinasabi sa ating konstitusyon na gagamiting criteria sa pagpili ng mga miyembro ng ating judikatura. Kami sa IBP, nagkaroon kami ng public forum, and we sought the opinions, perspectives from the stakeholders. Kung sa tingin nila, ano ba dapat ang magiging primary consideration sa pagpili ngayon ng ating Chief Justice, given the context. Isa sa mga lumalabas talaga na malaking pangailangan yung leadership quality ng ating Chief Justice, kasi nga natanggal yung ating Chief Justice because of the impeachment, and there is so much expectation from the public. Kaya kailangan yung next Chief Justice must be able to inspire the entire judiciary and even the public to live up to the demands of judicial excellence, and to live up to inspire the members of the judiciary to perform their mandates to the best of their abilities. Yun ang isang kailangan. At pangalawa, tinitingnan ng IBP ngayon yung capability nila to formulate the reform agenda. Yung pag-present nila sa kanilang program of action. Kasi nga, malaking bagay ito dahil nag-uusap tayo ngayon ng reforma. Marami tayong sinasabing problema. Kaya gusto siya na makita talaga, mailatag nila, individually mga nominees, ano yung program of action nila, ano yung reform agenda, which they would like to implement the moment they become the Chief Justice. At titignan din namin kung sila ba mismo, given their past background, capable sila na mag-implement ng ganong klaseng reform agenda. And sadly, hindi namin nakikita masyado yung articulation of the kind of reform agenda that we want to be seen in a Chief Justice that can provide a true direction that could make the Supreme Court a great institution of the rule of law and a great institution of our democracy. Naghahanap kami ng isang standout, very clear, maliwanag yung pag-iisip niya, diretso yung pagtingin niya, kung ano talaga dapat ng gagawin niya. Ito yung gagawin ko, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and in this 100 days, ito yung gagawin ko. Maliwanag. Hinahanap namin yun, and sana in the coming days or even after this, ma-articulate yung ganung perspective that could really inspire. We were waiting for somebody who could really inspire us. inspire the legal profession, a renewal of the legal profession, a renewal of the judiciary. That is what everybody's looking forward to. Somebody who can present to us a program who could inspire us. This is a new day. This is a defining moment. We have gone through a crisis and we are now going into a defining moment. Ito ang hanapin ng taong bayan. Ito ang hinahanap namin. At sana makita natin to sa process.
Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat, Attorney Ronnie Ballas. Ako, gusto ko sana itanong yung fearless forecast ninyo. Pero siguro, for in the meantime, sikreto muna. Maraming salamat po. We hope to say again, thank you for going. I think Attorney Trixie will be attending tomorrow to speak in behalf of IBP as well. At ngayong araw po, natunghayan po natin ang 4 na interviewees. Nagsimula po ang araw kay Dean Amando Valdez ng UE College of Law. Pagkatapos po sinundan siya ng pinaka-senior ngayon, si Acting Chief Justice, Associate Justice Carpio. At kasama naman po nitong hapon ang sa Part 2 si Justice Teresita De Castro. And we ended with Dean Cesar Villanueva. Bukas po, matutunghayan din natin kasama ulit ni Attorney JJ Atienza. Sa umaga, si Ms. Teresita Herbosa, ang chairman po ng Securities and Exchange Commission, ang dati pong former Executive Secretary at Congressman na si Ronaldo Zamora. And then we go with Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, ang Associate Justice po, pinakabatang Associate Justice ngayon sa Supreme Court. At kasama na rin po niya si Justice Presbitero Velasco Jr. Maraming salamat po. Magkita-kita po tayo bukas sa The Next CJ.
This program was brought to you by PTV News Center.